Good evening. My name is Griffin and I'm the founder of Black Delta Group, a game development company specialising in the production of high-quality racing games for the PC, Macintosh, Linux and console platforms. Tonight, I'll be pitching our first product, Kart Sim, with which we hope to capture a growing slice of the video gaming market. Today, in 2014, video gaming is truly ubiquitous. No longer is enjoyed by a small subset of the consumer. No longer is enjoyed by a small subset of the consumer. The video games are now played by a growing demographic that stretches across all ages, all genders, and now all cultures. In 2013, saw the release of Hollywood's biggest blockbuster, Iron Man 3. Its lifetime revenue managed to generate over $1 billion of sales. Comparatively, in the gaming industry, Grand Theft Auto 5 managed to generate over $1 billion of revenue in just 3 days. Even more impressively, Call of Duty Ghosts managed to generate over $1 billion in just 1 day from retail channels alone. At the lower end of the spectrum, we have games like Rust, produced by a 4-man team over the period of 6 months, which managed to generate over $30 million of revenue in just 2 months. Whilst Hollywood generated over $9.2 billion of revenue last year, the gaming industry managed to generate $93 billion of revenue in that time. This was mainly done through consoles, handheld, PC, and mobile platforms. And it's showing no signs of slowing down. At the moment, projected revenues for next year, the gaming industry is forecast to reach revenues of over $111 billion. I'll now present to you our first product, Kart Sim, with which we hope to capture the slice of this video gaming market. Thank you. So, as you can see, Kart Sim is an online multiplayer game which you can race karts with up to 16 of your friends online. It simulates real karting. It lets you drive karts capable of reaching 100 kilometers an hour in just 2.5 seconds. To put that in context, the Lamborghini Aventador manages to do that in only 3.5 seconds. The performance of a kart is comparable to that of a Bugatti Veyron. In Kart Sim, we allow the end user and the player to customize their own kart, their own team, and their own driver with their friends. And when you drive on a track in Kart Sim, it's exactly like driving on the real thing. We use laser scanning survey technology to capture the tracks with millimeter accuracy and recreate the bumps, recreate the corners, and recreate the curves of the track. If you're fast in real life, you'll be fast in Kart Sim. But what makes Kart Sim so different and better than our competitors? In a Formula 1 game, you might be lucky to encounter a corner every 10 seconds. In karting, be prepared to enter a corner in just every 3 seconds. We've also got shorter laps, which increases player retention. Just one more lap becomes one more race. Just one more race becomes one more championship. And before long, we've got you hooked. Karting is also a lot different to that of a supercar. People buy a Gran Turismo game because it affords them experience to experience driving a car like a Ferrari, which they're unable to do so in real life. In karting, it is the most exhilarating form of motorsport that we've got, and that's why Formula One drivers like Fernando Alonso, Sebastian Vettel, Lewis Hamilton all participate in karting when they've got weekends off from racing. But let's not just take Black Delta's word for it. Steam is the world's largest supplier and online distribution retailer for video games. At any one time, there are 75 million active users on the platform, and to get on the platform is extremely competitive. At any one time, to gain approval for distribution on the platform, there are 1,700 games that must be voted through by the players, by the consumers rather, so the only top 75 of games make it through each month. The gaming community must vote on the titles that they want. If the gaming community doesn't like it, the game won't get through. Usually, the process to gain approval for distribution takes 3 to 6 months. How did Kartsim fare? Kartsim broke in the top 100 within 23 hours and 52 minutes. We were approved within 13 days, and we've amassed over 20,000 votes from players and consumers indicating they wish to purchase the game once it's released. We've also received proposals from numerous publishers, the biggest of which has been Milestone, who are a publisher of the MotoGP franchise, interested in securing the distribution rights for Kartsim on PlayStation, Xbox and PC. The team, I myself have 13 years of development experience. As a former kart driver, I know what it takes to create an authentic experience for karting, and I'm also completing my Bachelor of Business. We've also got a highly experienced team with a lot of expertise in games development. Our programmers, our artists have worked at companies like Sony, 2K Entertainment, Big Ant Studios, and Transmission Games. Our projected sales, with a net revenue of $4.2 million in the next 6 months, we expect with an EBITDA of $3.2 million. Our future growth drivers, we're looking at investing in the console market, in which we hope to get onto the Xbox platform, the PlayStation platform, in which we'd hope to achieve sales and revenue of approximately $20 million in the next 18 months. We've also identified sequel releases, the creation of new IP based on our existing IP, development under license from third-party publishers, and simulation spin-offs with which we hope to commercialise our technology in other industries. We're seeing $450,000 to commercialise the game and release it in the next 6 months. Thank you.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And I'm also told that if successful, they will bring a driving simulator into the office, Larry. Questions?
Yes. Have you sent a prototype copy to Daniel Ricciardo?
No, we haven't, but we'd love to.
Yeah, great presentation. Look, once again, I want to jump on the numbers again.
Sure.
Someone tweeted that I'm using lots of numbers. Numbers don't lie. It's easy. So look, you got a pretty big team there. I'm just curious to dive into who's funding it to date, because a team like that, they need to eat, they need to sleep, and they're going to need to be fed. So
sure.
how's that work now?
The prototype which you see, I've developed myself with another person. Myself, I've probably done about 95% development. It's taken me 8 years to get to this point. So I initially came up with the concept 8 years ago, and since then, learning how to program, learning how to create the art. So what you see there is the culmination of about 8 years' work.
Are you using an off-the-shelf physics model?
No, I've custom written myself.
Oh, impressive. Yeah, that deserves an applause. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Just a few more questions on the numbers again. So you're asking for $450,000 and you're expecting to go into sales in 6 months.
Sure.
You've got a team of roughly around 10 people. Average burn rates. Is 450 really enough? Because that doesn't really leave you anything to spend on marketing.
Sure. So with Steam, the way that they've introduced the model for what we call an independent developer is allow people to sell the minimum viable product. So we'd launch the product with 4 carts, 4 tracks, and based on the existing work that we've already done to date, it'd allow us to reach that and be on sale within the 6-month period. From that point on, we'd reinvest further revenues from there back into the game with a net spend of $975,000. But really what we're doing at Looking is building the minimum viable product, making sure we get those revenues, and then if it is successful, which we're sure it will be, reinvesting them into the product.
And how confident are you going to finish it in 6 months, given that you've only got a burn rate of about 6 months?
Sure. So the work that we've already done, we're already working towards porting it. In any sort of development, most of the time spent naturally designing it, the game and designing the system and the architecture, which has already been done. Most of this is just porting straight across.
I've got a question. So I'm not a gamer, and I appreciate that go-karting's probably way more exciting than some of the other car games. You're a one-product play, right? So it's a bang or bust approach. So you got to make it work. You're beholden somewhat to some of the platforms like Xbox, PlayStation. You did mention about breaking out of that, simulations into other industries. Can you expand on your thoughts there, or is it mainly focused on this having to work with one product?
If we're able to, if the presentation's still live, I've actually got a couple more slides at the end. So initially, we've got the actual IP we've developed, even though it's racing and it's aimed at karting. The IP is that generic, and the physics engine is, I guess, is usable across to create karts, V8 supercars, Formula Ones. That's where we see us moving. But in the event that it was bang or bust, we've got the IP there, and once it's developed, we could use that again to launch another title. We've currently, if I can flick to the presentation again.
We might just keep rolling.
That's right. We've already been building a big driving simulator over in Perth within the company here at Mechatronics Company. It's basically the same as a flight simulator. So we've identified other areas there that we're looking at. But at the moment we're focusing on kart sim, and given the success we've had with Greenlight and the validation we've had from the market, I think it's reasonably unlikely that it would be bust.
Yeah, because it sounds like you could take that gaming platform for other gamers as another strategy, rather than just relying on just the one product. So
exactly.
No more questions?
Probably just one more. Most of the games that I've seen succeed, and I'm probably not the absolute demographic for general gaming, but I do love racing, so it looks very exciting, and I do like it. But my concern is that the short track, you just keep on going around in a circle or on a track over and over and over again. Most of the games have some sort of a progression. So Gran Turismo, there's an actual purpose, there's a task. You have to, keep progressing, and they keep the person involved potentially for hours and sometimes for days in the dark, I presume. They're sitting around playing games non-stop, sure. And you're out here pitching. So my concern is how long and how are you going to keep the people engaged for days and hours of the game?
Sure. So the core experience with the short tracks keeps them coming back once they're actually in the game, keeps them playing for a certain period of time. The other side of that is the retention, actually getting people back into the game. And as you mentioned, retention through progression and player progression is largely delivered by the team system that we've got. So people can create a team with their friend online, or their friend in real life. Together they can work. So if they win a race, they win money, and they can put that into building their team. So it's a virtual team, but they invest a huge amount of time, and it keeps them bringing them back into the game.
Fantastic. Well, everybody put your hands together for Black Delta. Well done.